And there we are. We are going live here on Gatherings of Light. And hi, Cody. Welcome.
Hello.
And today's a special day because we are leaving the topic of the foundation laws and the mastery levels of them. And we are moving into the geometric symbols that could go on forever. But we are starting with a special symbol, and it's going to be flower of life we are going to start today with. And before we continue, I did notice something very funny, actually. Since we've been doing this foundational law, I have been noticing that a lot of feeds that have come up in my Facebook when I'm scrolling around is that I don't even know if I'm using the words correctly, but you understand what I mean. So it has been about these foundational laws one way or another. So it's definitely right on time, and there are a few others that are actually bringing them up, the basics, back to basics, so to speak. And so it feels like this is some kind of integration, divine intervention, but an integration of remember how to use the energy properly. And that brought my mind back to Dolores Cannon, and she is the great channeler of Cryon, I presume. Yeah, and especially quantum healing or quantum sessions that she had. And she, one of her posts was, we are here to learn how to manipulate the energy. That is the main purpose for our human experience, to manage to manipulate. And that is rather interesting word, manipulate the energies. That is not what we usually want to think when we are thinking about spirituality and esoteric terms, that we are manipulating anything. We want to be in our best energy of our hearts, love, peace, and understanding, not manipulate, because that is a word associated with negative activity. But when she said it, it made perfectly sense, especially since we've been talking about this foundational law, because if we don't know how to interact with these energies and how to use them and how to work with them, we will not be able to move forward. So it's pretty right on time. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, definitely. It's we are the alchemists. We change one energy into another, and why a lot of higher beings look down, or not down, but look to us for even experience and information, even though they're technically on what would seem to be like a higher level of consciousness and all that type of stuff. How dense our reality is allows for us to go through more challenges in that alchemation and in the transfer of one energy to another, changing from negative energy into positive energy, some negative situation or that type of thing, and have a positive outcome come out of it. So it's being able to take one thing and change it into another. And because it's so dense here, it's harder to do. And therefore, when the higher dimensional beings see us do it, they get a lot of information from it, because we got to have such limitations on ourselves with doing that. And therefore, we kind of become masters of it quicker, if you will, because we have to go have a harder lesson, if you will.
Yeah, and well said. Yeah, and we are not going to dive in so much to the explanation of the foundation law, because you can check them out on both Facebook here on Gathering of Light and YouTube. And if you haven't checked them out, please do so, because Cody is going all in the energies, trying to explain how it works. So it's well worth listening to. But we are going to talk today about flower life. That is a beautiful symbol. And I guess when you are searching for the meaning of flower of life, you will get a lot of different explanations. But one of the explanations that I caught from, let's see if I can remember the name seven. Well, I will put it in the description later. They talked about a flower of life, and I put it in our chat box here. The flower of life is a unique geometric pattern made of 19 equal-sized overlapping circles that together form a intricate design similar to patterns found in natures. It's a beautiful symbol, but it's not just a symbol, it's a geometric shape. And you are going to let us know the difference between that. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Because basically it is the symbol or shape that basically allows for, it's not really allows for creation, but it's a symbol that almost represents creation itself. All of the frequencies, lights, material, structure, all the type of stuff come from this symbol. And so it's not like the symbol itself is what created it. It's kind of the representation that this is kind of how the patterning or how things happen to have creation. When we start with, one thing too is that the flat, 2D version of it, that is literally just 2D. It's the shadow form of the three-dimensional version. Most two-dimensional shapes or geometric, shapes, sacred geometry shapes, they're just the shadow form of the three-dimensional object. And the three-dimensional is technically what would be kind of like the shadow form of a 4D object. So it kind of goes levels up. But this one is a little bit more special because it has almost every symbol embedded within it. And it gets very somewhat complicated with the explanations of how this symbols create the different things or represent, light and frequencies and, the mathematical square roots and all this other stuff. So that I would have to have like actual visualizations of that and here that I could show. But
you basically are saying that you can find the shape of the Merkaba within the flower life symbol.
Yes, yeah, you can find the Merkaba, you can find all the platonic solids. That's kind of the major one of how the kind of material reality is somewhat structured as the platonic solids. Most atomic latexes, lattices, the atoms that combine together to create more solid, solid material. The lattice usually is within one of those platonic solid forms, and it's just repeated over and over again. And so that's kind of how those kind of fit into the creation of just solid material.
It's kind of interesting because you also referred as the 2D version, the shadow version of the Flower Life 3D version, and automatically I feel drawn to this shadow version because that was a tricky tongue slipping word.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it has to do, to me, the two-dimensional shape of it, or is connected to some level of advancement, their own ascension abilities, the shadow works that we are working with. There has to be an opposite to the 3D connected to the 2D.
Yeah, it's like once you understand the two-dimensional flat version of it, you can kind of somewhat advance or grow to do and understand the more 3D version of it. So there is an advancement of once you kind of understand the 2D one, it goes and transforms into the 3D to understand that one, and that one gets much more complicated.
Yeah, because it's a never-ending story, because everything is expanding into something else in their development. But if we are to talk about the symbols, the symbol of flower of life, so they say that it's found in nature.
Yes.
So where do we find it in nature?
It would be within the flower of life. There's the geometrical sequences of phi, or the golden mean ratio. The golden mean ratio is kind of the that one's a little bit harder to explain, but it's kind of like the perfect sequence. Most mathematical sequences, you need 3 numbers to be able to find out the answer, if you will. The phi ratio only needs 2, and therefore it's kind of the most simplest and the most kind of perfect geometric sequence. And what phi is basically like source. It's kind of the energy behind a lot of the stuff. But because nature can't exactly replicate it perfectly, because phi doesn't have a beginning or an end, it's like, well, I have to have a beginning because it's nature. It needs to grow from a seed. It needs to grow from something. And so what it does is it kind of produces the Fibonacci sequence, which starts from 1. Yeah, it starts from 1, it goes to 1, and then it adds onto itself each one. So 2, 1 and 2, 3, 3 and 2, 5, 5 and 8, 13. Kind of continues on and on forever. But the thing about the Fibonacci sequence is the further you go along, the closer and closer it gets to phi. So
that's interesting.
How it kind of relates to nature is that the symbol within it is the frequency, or the sequence that most nature is grown within. Spirals, was it pine cones and flowers and all this type of stuff? They go through the sequence of Fibonacci.
That is so much easier explained when you talk about. It's not that easy, so I can explain in my turn, but I do understand it, and it feels like you're actually connected the mathematical sequence with the physical vibration or form of the symbol, and how to understand how that works. So this symbol is also connected to the physical body.
Oh, yes, very much. And it's connected with the physical body through one, if you remember Da Vinci, he has what is called the material man. And it is, the kind of just drawn man. And within it has the symbol of basically the Merkaba, or the flower of life, kind of embedded within that symbol all the way back in Da Vinci's time. So this symbol has been around for quite some time in almost every single continent. Every single civilization has had this symbol in some form. So it's everywhere. But how it's connected with man would be the Fibonacci sequence again. Your fingers have 3 sections. Each one adds onto itself, which is the 2, the 3, the 5, or I think it's actually 3, 5, and 8. But and then it goes back and forth in a phi sequence as well. And within the human face is again another Fibonacci, actually not phi, but Fibonacci. And the body itself, and within all animals, within it's everywhere. I had a perfect basically in this book, the Ancient Secret of Flower Life, it is explained.
Can you hold it up there so we can see?
Yeah.
The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, Volume 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you hold it there, it's not the beautiful. It's not all about the beautiful colors. I love the colors, the gold and purple. And it's Melchizedek.
Yeah, Melchizedek. Yeah.
Yeah, and we call it Melchizedek, but
I
love the hieroglyphs that are in the background, because I just put a note here to myself that beyond the earliest origins, there has been seen this pattern like 5,000 years old, and they are on the Osirian temple in Egypt.
Yes, yeah. In this book, he literally has Egyptian hieroglyphs and all that type of stuff all within it. This is just me kind of showing that this book does go within the story of the Egyptians and how they knew about all of this. And here is kind of the man version. So that kind of shows how phi is connected. This is kind of a little bit complicated to understand, but it's all the ratios within that connect to it. That's within the human body. The Greek statues had such precision.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Greek statues studied the human body and realized this from the human body and from nature of this kind of sequence and how perfect and sacred geometry it all goes into. And so the Greeks had such precision with it that you could measure it perfectly. And then when the Romans came over and kind of conquered Greece and all that type of stuff, that precision just goes away. Like they might have the artistic type of thing, but they don't have the mathematic precision. Most temples and different pyramids and all that type of stuff all have this is the pagoda, and in Japan it goes based off of phi, based off of sacred geometry.
Okay.
Yeah. And all of these
that's pretty interesting, because I heard that the top of those buildings, the shape was a replica of a transportable vehicle that they think the ancient astronauts have used. So that is a universal spiral, or this
yes.
Yeah, it's
most because the kind of was it like universal language within the universe is math. Math is kind of the universal language. If we don't have English or Chinese or Japanese or whatever, you have math. Math can always be kind of explained and transferred into all the races. All the different civilizations, all the type of stuff, they had math. And so higher dimensional beings often will communicate with us in sacred geometry forms. They have crop circles and all that type of stuff that are based within sacred geometry. And I know I have some symbols in here and some pictures of that, but yeah, I can't quite find it right away. But yeah, it's kind of like if you're wanting to really dive deep into the sacred geometry, you kind of have to pick up one of these, because it explains. It's kind of like the book to have to understand sacred geometry. And it's not just sacred geometry in this; it's kind of the story of humans on Earth as well. And so
he is connecting the past, a bit of history and explanations into a living. Because I have been Googled for to find some good explanations about these geometric figures, and it's even though they are either showing the pure mathematical sequences and explained on that level, or they are into the esoteric meanings, and it's like two opposites world that are drawn together.
This one, he meshes them perfectly. It's not just esoteric and not just mathematical. He understands the math so perfectly that he can explain it also the etheric in with it, and just like this is the mercurial man right here, and it has this spiral in it that is phi. The spiral is phi. And so it is everywhere in life, and all the way up into the macrocosm of galaxies. Spiral galaxies are all based off of phi, all the way down to here. Even right here, this is an egg, like a human embryo egg.
Mhm.
It divides within the pattern of the flower of life.
That's so
And
beautiful.
yeah, right. And then all the way down into right here. This one you might not be able to fully see, but this is the atomic latex of what was it? A crystal matrix. Yeah. So it's the atoms within a crystal matrix, and it's basically just pure sacred geometry. no,
That is
it just
so marvelous.
yeah.
It kind of bring into the next topic there, because
Mhm,
this embryo who is in an expansion of this flower life symbol brings me into how we are using the symbol in the spiritual communities, because we
mhm,
usually look at the flower of life symbol as a spiritual
mhm,
connection too, and we
yeah.
do know
Mhm,
that many uses it as a healing symbol, and
mhm,
it is connected to the chakras. And
mhm,
I did have an image where I have misplaced, where the chakras is shown on this flower life symbol.
mhm,
And
mhm.
they also said the reason that we typically link a lotus with a chakra, with different chakras shown with different numbers of petals, is that chakras are energetic, the same as this symbol. So how exactly does the flower of life, because the flower of life symbol
Yeah.
is one picture,
Mhm.
and the chakra system could be one picture, but it usually defined in the 7 major chakras in our
Yes.
reality. There are so
Yeah.
many more energetic uh, sequences in our bodies, but these are the most main chakras that we are
Mhm.
holding on to. And by the
Yes.
way, is
Yeah.
that going to change now when we are going into this ascension? Are we going to, you know,
So,
get more comfortable with other
mhm.
chakras?
Yeah, because the seven might be kind of the primary ones, but they have a lot of minor chakras, all that type of stuff.
Mhm.
And our chakra system evolves into, you know, 9, 12. It kind of goes higher and higher the more. And that one's a little bit more complicated because it changes your actual DNA structure, and within the DNA structure, it changes how your geometric Merkaba, as we say, the Merkaba, that changes as well. The higher your dimensional frequency goes, and that in turn changes the energy spots within the body, and so it gets a little bit more complicated with that, but it does evolve, if you will.
I'm going to do a sidetrack before you go into answer the connection between the symbol and the healing.
Mhm, mhm,
When we were talking about how the flower life symbol is holding everybody, all the other geometric symbols within itself, we
mhm,
were talking about the Merkaba. And the
mhm.
Merkaba is usually known to be used as a transporter, as esoteric transport
Yes.
symbol for people who wants to move to different locations, or
Mhm,
go out of bodies.
mhm,
So if that is a vehicle transport system within the flower of life, is the flower of life connected just to earth, or is it universal? Or
it's
is there
universal.
different levels of universes within
Mhm,
in this floral life? Because then I think
mhm,
that is actually the symbol of the matrix that holds this
mhm.
universe together.
Yes, yeah, and you're talking. Let's see if I could get a better picture of it. Okay, yeah, I guess this could work. So there's 2 pages here I kind of want to show.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is the Merkaba,
Yeah.
the female body within the Merkaba, this is the energy field that is produced from the Merkaba. So right here, it spreads out, and but you become this next page, or right here. it expands out so much that you almost look like a galaxy itself. And
Yeah.
this, and this is the actual like transporter, the vehicle, the carriage or whatever it's called, the chariot that
Chariot, yes.
the Egyptians would call as the chariot.
Yeah.
And this is what's actually
That
transporting
image
it.
starts to look like a petal of the flower of life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it very much is. It's kind of all contained within here. This would be the 3D version of the flower of life.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. Here's a good image with it too. This shows you how much energy is actually being produced out of it. So the image that I showed you is just a small circle, but you can see the torus that is happening within that. And so there's that. Then
Yeah, and that is the other
one.
symbol that usually are connected to
Mhm.
the feminine and pagan symbol, and I
Mhm.
can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
I can't even pronounce it in my own language.
Yeah.
Vesiska, Pisca, or
Becca Pisces. Yeah, I know.
Pisces. Yeah,
I've heard it so many times, but I can never pronounce it myself. Yeah. Yeah.
that is a tricky one too. Yeah, but that is definitely that symbol within there too.
Yeah. This is basically the more expanded version of Becca Pisces. This is the geometry of light. Mm-hmm.
And that almost looked like the all-seeing eye.
Yes, very much is. And even within leaves and within the eyeball itself, these geometries are within it. This kind of this gets a little bit more complicated, but that is basically
that is
light.
definitely an eye.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That brings back another memory that I had for when I started to do these experiments in my youth and trying to explore the energies and how to move. I heard about the astral projections, and I saw a artist who had drawn something that he said was a astral projecting image, and I tried to use that image when I went into a meditation, and that literally pushed me into a tunnel of light in a very fast speed. And it suddenly ended very abrupt. And there was this pillar of light with two eyes, just gazing at me. No, there wasn't a face, it was just light, but I associated it with two eyes looking at me, and I felt like that was the cue of me, go back to where you belong.
Yes, gotcha. Yeah, you've gone too far, type of thing. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of fun. Now that I see the eye in there, there is always someone watching what we are doing.
That's true. Yeah. Even from our own perspective, we're watching ourselves, but spirit itself, consciousness, source, which we are, is also observing, also watching. Then you have spirit guides all around you, which are always watching. You have the recorder of your life, the one that's actually writing down all the stuff that happens within your life and puts it into the Akashic records and all that type of stuff. And so there's many beings that are actually looking at you 24/7, which can be unsettling for a lot of people because they want privacy, but you kind of have to learn to be okay with not having privacy. You get a little freaked out, but it's like eventually it kind of goes away.
Yeah. I have this this friend of mine. She had two sons, and one of the sons, he refuses to go to the bathroom because there was, every time he sat down on the toilet, someone was tapping him on the shoulder, and he was terrified of that bathroom.
Yes.
And so she went to a spiritual person who was connecting to his spiritual guide, and that was just what it was. A spiritual guide just tapping him on the shoulder, saying, "This is okay. It's dark. It's a old house, but I'm here to watch over you." But he
But
scared
it ends up scares them.
yeah,
Yes.
he scared the crap out of him. So yeah,
That's
fun.
kind of the funny thing about spirit guides too, is that they're humans basically that have already lived one life on Earth. That's kind of one of the requirements, so to speak, to be a spirit guide. You had to have at least had one life, so to speak, on Earth, and then you come back so you can guide. And they are kind of just humans. They might be a little bit more aware of stuff because they're on the other side. But again, it's not like they're perfect. It's they can think that they're helping, but they're actually scaring the hell out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we are glad that they are existing, but sometimes
Yes.
we do want a privacy, even though you said you get used to not having any privacy. But
Yeah.
back
But
to the
yes.
yeah
Yeah.
back to
I wanted to
the
show. Yeah, you said about the flower of life, and it expands into higher and higher forms. This would be kind of one of those expansions. This is the fruit of life, kind of the final form of the flower of life, expanded into infinite, basically. But this is used a little bit more directly with radiuses and energy flow in certain buildings and all that type of stuff. Especially in Egypt, they used this to kind of see where to put all the pillars and all that type of stuff. It gets a little.
It almost reminds me of this. Is it called hexagon? The beehive.
Yeah, kind of.
Symbol.
Yeah. See if I can show. This is probably a better view of it. So here's the Merkaba that is expanded. So it has two Merkabas within the fruit of life symbol. So that one's a real. Yeah, that one's an interesting one.
Do you want to talk more about that one?
Yeah, basically, it's what is like this star of David, so to speak. So it's what is the Merkaba? It's basically the Star of David, kind of. Anyways, because it's kind of doubled or integrated into both of them, it overlies kind of. Okay, again, a very hard one to describe, but you're expanding your energy from one area to the next area. So it's kind of a symbol of expansion, if you will, of energy and, other stuff, within that, your energy field, all that. So when you're kind of meditating on this symbol, you're also increasing your energy field. But it also can be used for, other things, like when you're trying to create a building that has a sacred space within it inside of a bigger structure. So you're using that to kind of make sure that everything is laid out in perfect sequence out from that sacred space. Yeah. Let's see. No, there's more. Oh yeah, this is a good little thing right here. This is kind of somewhat off of topic, but this is the pyramids of Giza, and how they're laid out to the Sphinx and all that type of stuff is in the perfect.
Oh yeah.
Phi basically ratio. It's phi spiral. Yeah, so that kind
That
of
is
shows
so
that.
interesting. I know that David Wilcock had a show about or talk about how this geometric symbols align with the Egyptians pyramids, etc. And there's there was so much information in that talk that he had, so I can't even remember half of it. But it's so interesting to see how the mathematical equations are actually built into the pyramids, and how they are put together, and how well they are coordinated with the stars.
Yes, exactly.
That is so sick, actually, because you think that 5,000 years ago they shouldn't be able to have this information. They shouldn't be able to know these mathematical solutions, and still they do.
They do. Yeah, like this would be a perfect one. Like the symbol that I just showed you is the square up here. So that's
Mm-hmm.
that, and this is basically the Leo, the astrological signs. That
Mm-hmm.
is kind of how this cycle of how Earth is kind of rotating, all that type of stuff is lined up within Leo. And so
Oh,
Leo being the Sphinx, because the Sphinx was
yeah.
a lion, therefore it's protection of Leo. And so they knew exactly when to build them and what order and like how it laid out within the entirety of the astrological, cycle. You know.
So that is why everybody feels so strong when the Lion portal is open up in August, and
Yes.
because at that time there are so many energies that are pouring up from the Egypt site, energetically, and I know that a lot of people feel them, and because they are also connected to the Osirian temple. So in Egypt, where we can find this flower of life too. So how is the Osirian temple or the Osirian, the stars Osiris, how is that connected to this flower of life? Is that the uh, lion gate or?
Well, I think I actually have. Yes, this entire chapter is about the Siren temples and how it is
Oh,
connected with the flower of life. So this entire chapter is about that.
oh yeah,
So
I do have to get that book. Yeah.
yes, yeah, and you can see. Let's see if he has a pretty bad picture of it, but oh yeah, here you go. So the Siren temples, how it's laid out,
Mm-hmm.
that's the geometry that they used to create this. And so it's literally Flower of Life with the dodecahedron, because this is the kind of 2D flat version of the dodecahedron. And so this would technically be made into 3D, but they lay it out in 2D to create this right here, and that's just uh, one of the levels, like the King's Chamber or something like that, and here.
Mm.
And,
Have
and
you
let's
heard
see.
the stories about people who have spent their nights within the pyramids and what their
Yeah.
experiences?
Mm. Somewhat, yeah. I do know that there's like expansion of energy. They have go on trips like full on like astral. They get
Yeah.
sent places. Yeah.
So I do wonder if when you are in these shapes, because we also know that people today have pyramids in the houses, miniature pyramids, and to store food and to do healing, and there's a
Yes.
lot of different things to use them for.
Mhm.
Um, but be able to be in this larger construction of this energetic field would probably, when you are, getting more relaxed and more accepting the energies, I guess that they will start to work in a different way.
Yes, yeah, because a lot of people that would just see it as just architecture, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's kind of built within the sacred geometry, mathematical equations and perfection, all that type of stuff, it has the unique frequencies of that sacred geometry kind of exuding out of it and within it. So when you're in, a pyramid like that, food can stay better longer. It literally has been shown to sharpen like knives and razors, all that type of stuff,
Yeah.
to cleanse and purify water. So it's basically all within the shape itself that creates that effect. And because the shape is sacred geometry, it's sacred. Yeah.
It's kind of
Yes.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and then here it's very very light, but in the temple of Osiris is the symbols of the flower of life carved into its walls.
Yeah. And that is the other interesting aspect, Cody. They are not carved into the walls, right?
Yeah, it's not actually like fully carved. It's like etched. It's almost like laser printed or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it's so precise.
That is kind of important message there. They are not carved in, they are burnt in.
Yeah, that's printed. Yeah,
and
exactly.
that is scientifically proved that they are not carved into the walls.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and there's tons of sites in Egypt that have that in it, and most of the hieroglyphs around it are hieroglyphs. They're carved, they're chipped away, and all that type of stuff. But right next to it, be a flower of life symbol that is lasered in or etched in, type of thing, and so it is quite a thing to see, and it definitely makes archaeologists that find that out have lots of questions, and they kind of backtrack, and they're like, okay, what's happening here? So yeah, it is an interesting one.
So
So
if we just pause there and get back to the Osirian, what do you call the star constellation? Osiris?
Yeah, Osiris. Yeah.
Yeah. So Osiris by itself, what is Osiris?
So Osiris is, well, there was a person called Osiris, in the Egyptian mythologies, if you want to call them that. Okay, there's actually a pretty long story about that, though, now that I'm remembering. There's supposedly an Osiris war. There's, different things that have happened in the Siren constellation and all that type of stuff. But here on, Earth, I think it was more about Osiris and his brother, and they having like a conflict, and Osiris trying to be the not pharaoh, but kind of ruler over the lands and stuff like that. It's
almost Cain and Abel.
Yeah, almost Cain and Abel type of thing. And so again, it's been so long since I heard that story or remember it, so I can't fully give the details in complete what is it, like validity, like I don't fully know it, therefore I don't want to give the story out and be it wrong.
Perfectly all right.
Yeah.
I'm more curious about the star constellation Osiris, because that is a important enough to build a temple in Egypt that is using the flower of life on their walls, carved in or burnt in, almost like laser burnt into the walls. So there obviously is a connection to the Osirian star system. So do we know what collective is connected? We've been talking about this earlier, but for those who doesn't want to have a recap on it, if you or those who want to have a recap but doesn't want to go through all the material that we have been talking about it, so just do a recap if you have the kindness of doing so.
Yeah. So I believe the collective consciousness, or kind of like how the Pleiadians are connected with the Pleiadian star system sisters. I think the Syrians are basically the Osirian, Syrians, and I think there's another consciousness connected to it, but that one I'm not entirely sure of. But the energy or the answer that's coming to me, because I don't fully know it, is the Mantis group, and the Mantis extraterrestrials, if you want to call them that. But I'm not sure why that image is fully coming through, because I haven't studied it basically, and therefore I don't want to say in validation or validity that is the answer, but that is what's coming.
Mantis is that like the insectoid?
Yeah, basically like insectoid. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, doesn't Elizabeth April says that she is a mantis?
Elizabeth April?
No, she's a gray. Sorry. Sorry.
Gray.
Sorry. Erase.
Yes, right. To be shown. Okay. Yes. Yeah. But it's there's many thoughts and stuff like that. A lot of people are afraid of insects, and therefore those insectoids get a little bit of a negative review, if you will. But a lot of them are masters in themselves, especially the insectoids are very much a master of small detail, like atoms and kind of getting into small energy fields and all that type of stuff. They're really good with medicine as well. They're really good with healing bodies and all that type of stuff.
Oh, that is interesting. That is why they are coming through, because the original question was, how is the symbol of life connected to healing?
Yes, gotcha.
Oh, you got a thread there.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, okay, it has to come back, right? Yeah, it's connected with healing. Yeah, exactly. It's they deal with those energies and can manipulate a lot of tiny little things within the human body. And so they're true masters. But also,
That is awesome.
you also talked about how the flower of life is connected with the chakra system. And if you know about what's this called? It's there's the tree of life, but I believe it's also called the Kabbalah in Hebrew. I believe it's called. But here.
So I do.
This,
that is the Kabbalah
yes.
figure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you see each of the points is kind of connected to a different chakra system that would be inside your body. But that one would be kind of the thing that's connected to that. And it kind of shows that information system from the Hebrews does derive from the flower of life as well. But yeah,
because you mentioned it before, it's all over the world. It's not just in Egypt or in Asia, because you can find it almost everywhere in some kind of shape or something. Yeah.
And here's I just like this image of the classic one that I started with is the material man, whatever. And there's this macabre, and and this is an actual drawing that Leonardo made, and so he had the knowledge all the way back then as well. So,
it would be interesting to have Leonardo. And then I was about to say Leonardo DiCaprio, but he
yes, right.
I know that kind of genius.
Yes,
But Da Vinci, explaining
Yeah.
how or where he got his ideas, because he was obviously way ahead of his time, connected to something.
Yeah, I definitely believe that him, just like Nikola Tesla and all those kind of Plato, all of them had some form of connection of channeling, if you will. And a lot of that information comes from either Akashic Records type stuff or actual entities that they talk to, spirit guides or, all those higher up stuff. And so they had some form of spiritual training, even if it wasn't official type of stuff. They found it out on their own, or something happened.
So you mentioned Nikola Tesla, and I know we do have a lot of sidetracks here, but that is the cute thing about being live, talking about some original topic, and that it goes on sidetracks. But Nikola Tesla, can we apply the flower life symbols to his designs? Because he had obviously a lot of designs, but it's electricity and it's a vibration. And I'm thinking about these Tesla towers that are, supposedly to be a global energetic network.
Yeah, basically free energy for the entire planet.
Yeah.
And yeah, his designs were based off of sacred geometry. It's a lot of his actual blueprints and designs have been kind of not they're missing, let's just say, and so we can't go back and truly have a side-to-side comparison of it. But when you look at the photos of the past and all that type of stuff, you can tell that there is some form of basically sacred geometry, but it's not like a pyramid or anything like that. It's kind of a very the angles are almost like the Eiffel Tower, if you will.
Yeah.
And the Eiffel Tower is basically like a giant antenna in itself. And so it's like that, but with this spherical, kind of thing on top of it. And the spherical thing would also be a way of expanding that energy at the very top of that point, and so that it's not going in one direction, it's expanding out, and so it would be kind of based on that, but also just the vibration and electronics in itself is one form that comes out of the flower of life, which is just frequency. Even music is in here, that because music is frequency. So what's the other one? Yeah, it's an interesting symbol that can be connected with so many different things, but you just kind of have to find where the information is at. Right here. So that doesn't really truly explain much of anything. So, well, this is basically just how each of the scales is actually connected to a different chakra system.
Yeah.
But that was an image that I remembered, but it doesn't really show what I wanted to talk about or show you. Okay, yeah. Nope. Okay, yeah, I don't think there's going to be a good image in here that explains it well. Most of it would be in words. And so basically what's happening is that with the Vecus Pisces, if you will, it has different angles checked within that, and each of them have kind of a degree, and that degree or angle of degree is usually, I think, 60 degrees, 30 degrees, all that stuff like that. And it kind of creates this energetic pattern that happens, and that creates this kind of frequency. Again, I'm kind of losing my words, and because I have all the information, but it's hard to find and have like put together, if you will. And so sorry if I'm losing it, or I think I just saw it too. Oh, okay. So that's atomic. Still atomic. I literally just saw.
You did show this picture of the key notes on a piano, and how the different frequencies there are connected to chakras, and if you are playing out, since the flower of life, you can also apply the chakras within that symbol, and if you are playing on those key notes, I can almost see how the petals within the flowers of life is shifting in vibrations. They are bend in their own construction, and how that somehow affects the other petals that are within the symbol. So that will be like it's using itself as a healing symbol. It's using itself on a cellular level.
Yeah, and like in a lot of meditations, when you're doing the lotus within each of the chakra, it usually is like 3 lotus or 3 petal lotus, 5 petal lotus, and goes up to like 1,000 petal lotus at the crown or whatever within some meditations that you do. And that would be Fibonacci as well, because you're basically adding on to each one, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's the spiral of growth, if you will. But, let's see. Yeah, that's actually how music is. But okay. Yeah, again, sorry, I know I see the images when I'm like flipping through it, but then when I go to try to find it again, it's just gone.
Well, we just have to trust what's popping up there. If there is relevant, it will reveal itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think that image that I was going to show would be actually fully relevant, or that you could get much out of it anyways. So it's all good, I guess.
But we can also put the in the description box here, or the comment field, the name of the book and the author, so people can go back. I will also put the link to where I have gazed on right now. It's called MBG Mindfulness. It's a it's a website, but there is a woman, Julia, I can't pronounce her name, Nguyen, but she has put together some information, and she has drawn that from different other pages. So, but she has somewhat, have the basic questions that we have been talking about too. So, and a lot of links, so they who want to search further can go and click on those links if they want to. But do we have something more to say about this beautiful flower of life? Because I feel we can talk for forever, but we actually haven't mentioned so much about the physical. We have covered a lot of side tracks. That is obviously a good thing, because it's such a broad topic, the flower of life. But the symbol flower of life, just looking at it, what is your own words on how to describe that?
I would say it's, in simple terms, it is the symbol of which creation is described, if you will, or it's, when you look at the image, you get to understand creation deeper or on a different level. Especially when you draw it yourself, you can look at it and kind of get some of the ideas, but when you start drawing it and going from one circle, you move up, because that's how spirit did it. It creates a sphere around itself and then moves to the edge of it, creates another sphere around itself, and that creates the Vecus of Pisces, then moves to the other corner, and then continues on the cycle to complete the flower of life, and then an expansion of the egg of life, or fruit of life. And so it's
is there a difference between the flower of life and the fruit of life?
Oh, yes. The flower of life is simply, it is, this right here. But you can see that there are these two lines that kind of stop the progression. That's when you have the 19 circles. But those two lines would be basically what is described as like the membrane of a cell, and it kind of cuts off some of these circles. When you get rid of those and complete it, you get the kind of the I can show you right here. It has the spheres that go onto each of the corners, and it creates this. So it has each of the spheres going up, 13, I believe, in all. And you basically have the circles are the feminine, the straight lines is the masculine, and this creates the Merkaba, or Metatron's cube. The Metatron's cube is what allows you to see the platonic solids, all that type of stuff that is hidden within the flower of life. And so there's a progression from the kind of hidden knowledge that has been in the past, like the Egyptians, the Greeks, all that type of stuff. They always had the lines on there to hide basically the rest of the information.
So that immediately brings up a another wondering or question in my mind there. The tree of life, for me, it's a symbiosis of the flower of life.
Yeah, because it's connected in with it. It's kind of, the different points within it.
But it has a different interpret. What do you call a different meaning?
Yes, interpretation, stuff. Yeah, it's basically the flower of life. That symbol is a way for 13 plus different information systems within it. So even if it kind of explains some of it, it's not that that's the only meaning of it. It expands out into different information systems. So the tree of life would be one of those systems that is kind of embedded within the symbol of the fruit of life, right? This is a more clear picture of it without all the lines.
Yeah.
That is the fruit.
That is the fruit of life. Yeah. So if we were supposed to meditate on the flower of life symbol, how would that meditation look like? Or better question, do you have a meditation on the flower of life today?
Not exactly. Like it you'd kind of have to know the sequence of how it's drawn, if you will. And when you know that sequence, this could be a good symbol of it. So say you start with the one circle, expand up, and then go to the second one, and that creates that symbol. And then you move on and keep making the circles until you complete it to have what was called the seed of life. And so that's kind of the first image that comes out of this. And so the meditation would literally be you kind of becoming source or spirit itself. Imagine yourself within nothingness. There's no anything, just pure awareness, you and nothingness. Create the sphere around you. Move to the edge, create the sphere. Move to the edge, create the sphere. And you kind of do the same process that Source did. And that will kind of expand you, get closer and closer to that frequency of creation.
Yeah, the Casper brings me back to the mastery level when you were guiding us through this meditation of where we're going through the different frames. We went from one frame to the other frame. So are they two connected to each other?
Not exactly. That one would be more about kind of here and now, kind of the mechanical structure of reality. There is no movement in reality. It's going from one freeze frame, reality, to another, to another, to another, and that's why you're going from frame to frame to frame, and it gets you in touch with the ability to shift and move and create the frames that you want to go into. This one is more about creating all of the frames at once. It is the kind of big bang, if you will, even though there was a big bang. It's kind of creating that like you actually fully manifesting all of existence.
Yeah, because using a pencil and to draw that symbol is definitely it's a bit of a complicated
thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I was going to say, contemplate on.
Gotcha. Yes.
Yeah. So it's a part of the meditation, but you are aware of what you are doing. And when you are in this moment of drawing something, you will slightly start moving into a different state of mind. You will use a different energy, and you will also be more open to the energies that are pouring in from the image that you are, the vibration of what you are actually drawing on the paper.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think drawing it is the ultimate way of connecting into this symbol, because you kind of can tap into the frequencies as well, but you also get the feeling of like all the ancients that found out that information by themselves or channeled it or whatever. They literally drew it out themselves. They didn't have images already all over the internet for them to look at. They had to do it themselves. And so when you do it yourself, you kind of tap into that kind of discovery of the information.
That will be some fun to explore. I haven't done it myself, but I will definitely try that one time when I'm drawing. And because mandala is also used to contemplate over over matters or just being in that energy, and it sets the mind. It's kind of a resetting the mind and starting over with new energy. So that is definitely a good way to get back to one's own energy and start over. So yeah, do you want to complete this chat with something? Is there something missing?
Maybe a crystal healing.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. We are definitely going to have a healing. I was thinking more if there's something we have missed out on the flower of life symbol as a symbol. And the mathematical stuff we do know about, but there are so much of the esoteric knowledge.
Yeah, there's so much about this symbol that it's almost truly impossible to speak about it within less than an hour. It will take months and months to get deep into each of the aspects of it. But for me, since I'm a little tired and I'm not really fully with it, and it's been a while since I fully dived deep into the subject matter. It's literally been over 7+ years that I first started learning deeply about it, and therefore having to relearn it within a couple of days. It's not really relearning, but it's kind of revamping the knowledge in my mind, kind of bringing it back up. Not all of the information that I learned back then is kind of coming back to me, and so it might take a while for me to really dive deeper into it and kind of get the aspects. I knew back then when I was diving deep into it, I was developing things that aren't taught. You get the information, but there's things with that information that I was able to expand upon. One of my theories was that the angle of each of the geometries that you're looking at would kind of add up, and then once you add it up and kind of was it not divided by each one, so to speak, it's when you have the average within all of the angles, that will correlate to the frequency that is being released within that symbol. But it was just one of my theories that I was coming up with at the time, and it hasn't been proven or any mathematics behind it really. It was just something that came to me a while back ago with how each of the angles are within the thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, and the good news is that we are not done with the geometric symbols, because we are going to do another talk or a couple of other talks about the geometric symbols. But we wanted to start with this symbol of life, because flower of life, because it was a good symbol to start with.
Yeah, it is kind of the starting point of all other symbols.
Yeah. So, do you have in mind of what we are going to talk about the next time? What symbol do you want to go from here?
Yeah. I want to dive deeper into Metatron's cube.
Metatron's cube.
Yeah, which is one of the information systems that I just saw, or I just showed you. That comes from the flower of life, or technically the fruit of life. And yeah, that one is very well known within mathematicians. They know that symbol really well, and it has a lot of information hidden within that one as well. So it's a good one to talk about.
Yeah, and Metatron's cube is, to me, when I hear that name, I associate it with magicians. I don't know why, but Metatron's cube is the magical the magical symbol somehow. So that is going to be interesting to dive into that topic, but that will be the next time. So right now we are very pleased if you want to give us some healing, some distance healing.
Yes, yeah. So going from that chaotic talk of a whole bunch of random stuff, we'll kind of calm it down at the end, and I'm going to be, giving healing from this amethyst sphere. And so for anybody that does not know, if you want the energy, either consciously or verbally accept it. If you don't, then just say you don't want it and it won't affect you at all. And yeah, so let's see how it goes. Okay, closing up there.
Yeah, well, that was interesting. It always happens a lot of interesting stuff when we are doing these talks and healing. When you started this and you said we were going to do this, introduction to the healing, all the animals got together. I already have one dog and one cat here, but the other dog just went from the other room in here and placed himself on the floor. So now I have two dogs around my feet and a cat behind my back. And there was also, remember, I live on the countryside, so we do have flies here, but I have a giant fly in here. And every time when we touch the subject of Egypt, it start to buzz around in the room. And when we're doing healing now, it has been flying around and round and round, and then suddenly it goes silent because it just places itself here. So definitely a lot of different kind of energies. And I need to say this, I felt a cold pouring up. My nose is clogging here. So you definitely tapped into energies there, or I tapped into energies who started to work here. Any thoughts about what just happened, Cody?
Yeah, well, the energy of the amethyst is going with the third eye. It's kind of bringing the energies up, and so there's going to be a lot of just kind of pressures around here. So cold and all that type of stuff happening. It's all going to be around here. The sinuses are going to be affected, all that type of stuff. And then a lot of animals are very sensitive to energy, and so I know a lot of times when I did energy healings before on other people a long time ago, all their animals would do the exact same thing. They'd be on the other side of the house. I would start the energy and they would immediately come and sit down on the person's lap or right under there or whatever and just feel it,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they, I guess, really like just energy in general. And therefore, when it's available, they're going to be there,
Yeah, and they don't want to miss out on the healing, the distance healing from Cody. That's it. They have built in the system now that there will be a distance healing. Hello. Yeah. So yeah, well, it was very, very powerful. I didn't get any images, but I definitely felt the energy. So thank you so much for this. Any final words?
No, we'll just sorry I didn't have all the information kind of available quickly and kind of easy to talk about. I hope that in the future, in the next talks, I might be a little bit more on the point or on the ball, if you will. So I hope it was at least enjoyable for any person that's actually
It was
watching.
enjoyable. Definitely. And I think and I mentioned this before, people who are watching this are already past the beginning of the ascension process. They already know what that means. They already have information, and this is the deep dive into what the esoteric meanings and how the foundation from based upon the foundation law of how things works. And we are also pulling in scientific and historical and try to connect them in some way of a modern talk about what did happen in the universe, what did happen on Earth, why are we still in these footprints of the historical events, and how do we play with it right now. And if you find Cody confusing, this description was very confusing for me. But yeah, definitely people won't watch this unless they have some kind of interest in what we are talking about, and it's I enjoy every moment of it, Cody, and it's not at least confusing at all. This is very, very, very interesting. So with that said, we are looking forward to meet you on the next chapter of the geometric symbols, and we are going to talk about the Metatron cube, and we will be very, very curious about what Cody have for us in store. And maybe he has a meditation connected to that too, because those are beautiful, these small meditations. And we always end our sessions with a distance healing. So thank you for being here, and take care. And thank you, Cody, so much for
Yes.
today. So,
Yes, thank you.
so see you in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Bye.